The Chicago Bears initial 53-man roster is now officially set. So let's talk about it, people. What is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports all back at it with another video talking, of course, NFL here to talk about the Chicago Bears. So if you're a Bears fan and you are not subscribed to the channel, you're making a mistake. You probably are. You're going to want to go ahead and subscribe because I will give you the latest and greatest with the Bears covering this team like a blanket, people. So you don't want to miss out. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you are also hitting the bell icon down below so you're notified every time I drop a new video. And guys, follow me on my social media platforms. Links down below for that. All right, so let's talk about this, all right? 53-man roster. I'm going to talk about all the players that got cut, and I'm going to talk about all the players that made the initial 53-man roster. Now, keep in mind, I said initial because there can be more moves made and most likely will, because the Bears are going to want to claim other guys that got cut, and you know they have the #1 waiver wire priority order. So definitely they're going to want to go ahead and do that. So if you go ahead and grab a player off the waivers, you're going to want to cut somebody on your team. So this is the initial 53. It can change, but let's break it down. And it's going to be a longer video, so sit back, relax, grab a drink, and let's break it down. So we'll start with the cuts, all right? So here we go. Here are the cuts that the Bears have made. So the following players that they have waived, and here we go. So they've waived linebacker Micah Baskerville, defensive lineman Travis Bell, fullback Robert Burns, tight end Steven Carlson, defensive back Mason Clark, offensive lineman Kellen Dyche, Dater Elson, linebacker DeMarcus Gates, defensive lineman Travis Gibson, defensive lineman Jalen Harris, offensive lineman Robert Haskin, defensive lineman DeAnthony Jones, offensive lineman Josh Lugg, offensive lineman Roy Baitika, defensive back Michael Ojemudia, tight end LaCain Pitts, probably butchering these names, I apologize. Defensive lineman Bravion Roy, offensive lineman Logan Stenberg, linebacker Davion Taylor, defensive back Braylon Trahan, defensive back Kendall Woldor, linebacker Barrington Wade, linebacker Michael Walker, defensive back Kendall Williamson. Okay, those are the players that they have waived, and then they've terminated the following vested veterans, which still means waived. Defensive lineman Andrew Brown, offensive lineman Aviante Collins, wide receiver Doris Fountain, QB Nathan Peterman, defensive back Greg Stroman, wide receiver Simba Webster. They've also placed the following players on reserved/injured, wide receiver Isaiah Ford, and they have waived the following players with an injury designation, running back Tristan Ebner. All right, so that was a handful there. By my count, that is, I think, 32 players that the Bears have cut, maybe 31, but I think 32. And now, with that being the players that got cut, the Bears roster right now stands at 52. Not 53, because we have the offensive lineman from the Dolphins, Dan Feeney, waiting in the wings to come onto the roster. I think he has to pass a physical, so he will be player number 53. So my initial thoughts from the players who got cut, anything that stands out to me, the biggest thing by far is defensive end Travis Gibson. Travis Gibson should have absolutely made the 53-man roster. He was one of our better defensive linemen. He is one of our better pass rushers. And honestly, folks, he outplayed a lot of the guys. Like Rasheem Green, who I'm going to talk about when we talk about the guys who made the initial 53, made the roster thus far. And, you know, he was severely outplayed by Travis Gibson. Travis Gibson was fantastic in the preseason, was coming on during training camp. There was some, reports that said that he had requested a trade. He went on Twitter saying that he never requested a trade. So, again, the part that is interesting is you could say, hey, Ryan Poles maybe just wanted to get rid of him because he didn't want to have any bad apples in the building, quote unquote. But Travis is saying he never requested a trade. So it's just interesting to me because, to me, Ryan Poles is all about merit-based play. The guys that play better earn their jobs. And Travis Gibson earned his way to a roster spot, but he didn't get one. So what gives? I'm just shocked by that, okay? I just want to know the answers. Is it a scheme fit? Is it something else? Just want to know what that is, because Travis Gibson is insanely talented and he should have made the 53-man roster as one of our better pass rushers. As far as anyone else, I mean, defensive lineman Travis Bell, I know he's a rookie, he's 7th rounder at that, but he made some really nice plays, man, during training camp and preseason. I thought maybe there was a chance he was going to make the roster. Linebacker Michael Walker, who I think we claimed from the Falcons, he is a guy who I thought maybe there's a chance he could make the roster, and clearly he didn't show enough in the few weeks that he was here. Other than that, quarterback Nathan Peterman getting waived doesn't really surprise me, but Tyson Bagent winning QB2, that QB2 job, the backup quarterback job to Justin Fields, that does make me feel really, really good. But the fact is the Bears are only going to carry 2 quarterbacks as of right now. Again, we'll see. Other than that, folks, nothing else too surprising. Tristan Ebner got cut. Honestly, he didn't show enough. To me, that was not surprising as well. We're going to be carrying 6 receivers here, so I feel bad for guys like Isaiah Ford and Doris Fountain, who had some flashes, even a Simba Webster, but for the most part, I think I'm happy with who they kept. And yeah, as far as the rest of the guys that got cut, nothing else that I have complaints about. So to me, I think the right moves are made. I just have my questions on Travis Gibson. All right, let's now move on to the guys that actually made the initial 53, and we're going to break it down. So here we go. Quarterback, the Bears are keeping, obviously, Justin Fields is the starting quarterback, and you have Tyson Bagent. No complaints here. Both guys, obviously, the right guys for the job. We're not even talking about Justin Fields here because it was never a question, but Tyson Bagent, he earned that QB2 job. Severely outplayed PJ Walker and severely outplayed Nathan Peterman, and he is a guy who can make things happen. I know he's young, and sometimes you want to have a veteran at the backup quarterback spot, but the Bears haven't had a developmental QB in a long time, and the fact of the matter is he's a undrafted QB2, guy that came from a D2 school in Shepherd, and he is, playing his way onto the roster. Like, that just shows you how well he has played, and he just makes things happen, folks. So I have no issues with that. In fact, he deserved it. The running back room. All right, we've got Khalil Herbert, Dante Foreman, Roshan Johnson, Travis Homer, and fullback Kari Blasingame. No issues here. A lot of people were thinking Dante Foreman wasn't going to make the roster. I never thought that because, to me, he brings a different skill set to the table than a Khalil Herbert, than a Roshan Johnson. Foreman's a big back. You can put him at short and goal line situations, 3rd and short, things like that. Herbert's small, too small for that. And then Roshan Johnson, yeah, he can probably do it all, but he doesn't have that size that Foreman does. Homer's more of a pass-catching back, and then, of course, you've got your fullback. Wide receiver, told you about DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool. These guys were obviously locks. We know that. But the reserves, ESP, Equanimous St. Brown, he made the roster when we know Dante Pettis, got kind of placed on IR and his season ended. And Velus Jones Jr., for all his struggles, again, we did invest a decent amount of capital in him, so they didn't want to give up on him too quickly. And then Tyler Scott, the rookie wide receiver. So no issues here as well. I think these were the 6 guys that I had picked to make the roster based off of my 53-man roster as well. My predictions. Tight ends, Cole Kmet, Robert Tonyan, Mercedes Lewis. Absolutely no issues there at all. They got that completely right. The offensive line, we got Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Cody Whitehair, Nate Davis, Darnell Wright. When healthy, are starting 5 offensive linemen, so no issues there. The reserves that made it, Larry Borum, who's been playing pretty well, Lucas Patrick, Jatar Carter, and Doug Kramer. And then, of course, you're going to have Dan Feeney there. So a pretty good group here. I don't have many complaints here either as far as the reserves. I think these are all the guys that I would have had as well. Moving over to the defense here, we've got obviously Yannick Ngakoue, Andrew Billings, Justin Jones, and DeMarcus Walker. Those are the 4 starters that we're going to have on our D-line. And then as far as the reserves, Rasheem Green, you already know how I feel about it. Travis Gibson should have made the roster over him. Zach Pickens and Javon Dexter, got no issues there. Dominique Robinson has flashed last year, and he's got a lot of raw potential. And Terrell Lewis, all he did was make plays during preseason, so he definitely deserved a job on this team. The linebacker spot, TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Jack Sanborn, 3 starters, no issues there. And then your reserves, you got Noah Sewell and Dylan Cole. I'm okay with that as well. Cornerbacks, we got 6 of them, Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson. And then your reserves are Terrell Smith, Josh Blackwell, and Jalen Jones. No issues for me there as well. Safeties, Eddie Jackson, Jaquan Brisker, and backups, Elijah Hicks and A.J. Thomas. No issues there. Specialists on special teams, Cairo Santos, your kicker. Trenton Gill, your punter. And Patrick Skills, your long snapper. So there you have it. The initial 53-man roster. Don't have too many issues here. The issues that I did have, I told you guys about. So, overall, feeling pretty good here. Again, this is the initial 53-man roster, so we'll see what happens as far as, who we pick up off the waiver wire. But I'm feeling pretty good about this, other than a few questions that I had. So let me know what you guys think about the initial 53-man roster. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, as always.